I was born in Nashville, Tennessee. Really grew up in southern Indiana, just on the Kentucky border. Small town, rural, a very solid experience back then. I had 4 sisters. I was the only boy, and so there was always a lot of estrogen in the house, which was my impetus to get out and get about. My father started a retail clothing business. Retail is detail, as we would say, but when you think about it in the corporate world, that sense and importance of details and getting the small things right served me very well. My mother actually was born and raised in the Philippines, and I learned a great deal about adversity and turning adversity into opportunity. My mother went to 3.5 years in a prisoner of war camp and was ultimately liberated by General MacArthur. I came to NMSU through anything but a traditional route. We had a basic principle in our family that whatever you did in life you needed to do spectacularly well. And so in my first outing in academia, I managed to fail spectacularly well. I was evicted by the dean at Indiana University. The reason why I came, frankly, was because back then I could wipe out all of my GPA, start afresh, and still transfer credits and basically rebuild a GPA that might be good enough someday to get me into a good graduate school. I drove in to Las Cruces with my 1967 VW hippie bus, curtains in the back, the whole thing. I looked around and it was pickup trucks and cowboy hats and boots and belt buckles. On many different levels, coming to NMSU was transformational. First and foremost, I learned to learn, and I learned to love learning. And that never ends, your entire life. It's important to continue learning. I think the second thing that was transformational for me here was that it's very difficult to know what your strengths and abilities are unless you step out of your comfort zone. You have to go through all the basics of getting your bearing, mapping a new direction, marshaling resources, setting new goals. What I never would have guessed was in my later career in entrepreneurial businesses, starting new companies, those were exactly the kind of life experiences and skill sets that one needed to do well. Business was in the family blood, both on my mother's side and on my father's side. At a young age, I was introduced to the business. I started on the receiving dock and in the shipping room and worked my way up to the selling floors. I had a number of memorable professors. The one which I had the pleasure of coming back and able to say thank you in other ways was Robin Peterson, who was a very effective instructor in the marketing department at the time. A feeling that sort of encapsulates all that happened to me while I was here at New Mexico State. I often say that I really have 2 places of birth. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and that's sort of my official birthday, but I always recognize that my second birthday really occurred here at New Mexico State University. The person I entered the school as and the person I left as could not have been more different and better. And so I felt as though I had started a new life. I had been reborn by virtue of the extraordinary academic experience I had here. I graduated, I think, 3rd in the business school here, had a very good GPA, and ended up going to graduate school at USC in the MBA program. I stayed a 3rd year, studied nothing but finance, and quite ironically, my very last area of academic study turned out to be the rest of my personal career. I thought I was going to get a job with a Fortune 100 company, LA, Wilshire Boulevard, high-rise, corner office, and at the very last minute that fell through. I didn't have a plan B. I went to San Diego and joined a fledgling startup venture capital firm. Little did I know that at that time, this was 1981, was really the birth of biotech, both in the U.S. and specifically in San Diego, California. As an investor and then as an executive, I was affiliated with a startup, I think of about 11 companies. Some were in the biomedical, some were in the electronics, some actually one very successful company, nationwide restaurant chain. But at some point I decided I really wanted to roll up my shirt sleeves and step in and sort of, get on the ground and start and build one of those companies myself. That company was one of the very first human gene therapy companies anywhere, and we built that up to, I think, 175 employees, and it was ultimately acquired, I think, for about $120 million, went public, and did very well. After Viagene, I was recruited by another venture capital firm to be CFO at a company called Signal Pharmaceuticals. We had a great run there. We merged that very successfully in the year, I think around 2000. I had written a strategy paper that the CEO and chairman of the company that was acquiring us saw and was invited to come on board, stay on board. That company at the time was about a $750 million company. Today, Celgene is, I think, the third largest biopharmaceutical company in the world. Number 60 or so, Fortune 500, about a $45 billion company today. We launched 2 or 3 cancer drugs that really were life-changing for cancer patients worldwide. And the ability to sort of have a front row seat and participate in the start and growth and development of such a successful company, while at the same time seeing your product have such an amazing life-changing effect on people, is just about as gratifying an experience as I could imagine. After some unfortunate losses in my personal life, I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting my wife, Jacqueline. She gave me 2 great things. She gave me her love and our son, Max. I did multi-$100 million merger and acquisition deals around the world, but seeing him first thing in the morning, eyes light up, Daddy, has just been an extraordinary pleasure. I couldn't be happier and I couldn't be more thankful. I always advise people to aim high, take risks, not fear failure, and prepare yourself as best you can to do as many different things as you can. It's easy to sit here and sort of recognize and honor the success of a career. The fact of the matter is, I am here really out of thanks and gratitude to the university. I really look back at the success I enjoyed both in graduate school and then in my career as having its beginning and its foundation here at NMSU.